When police cut open the first bag, they discovered what they had feared: human flesh, limbs chopped and separated. Some still showed signs of struggle. One bag even contained a partially recognizable face, bloodied, cold, and pale. Anupama's brother Sujan stepped back in horror, tears bursting from his eyes as he gasped, "That's her! That's my sister!" The room spun for everyone. The case had taken a dark, gruesome turn, from a missing person to something much worse. Rajesh was arrested on the spot. At first, he stayed silent. But when interrogated for hours, the mask finally dropped. He began to speak, and what he revealed shocked even the most seasoned officers. According to Rajesh, the marriage had been in shambles for years. After their return from America, mistrust and jealousy had poisoned every corner of their relationship. But that wasn't all. There were deeper betrayals at play. Rajesh claimed that back in the U.S., Anupama had grown close to one of his own friends. What started as harmless friendship soon turned in his mind into emotional infidelity. He resented her for it, and the bitterness only intensified when they returned to India. But while Anupama had her alleged secrets, Rajesh had his too, and his were far darker. In Kolkata, Rajesh had begun a secret affair with another woman, a married woman in a troubled marriage. He sympathized with her. He listened to her pain, and eventually he fell in love. He even went so far as to marry her quietly in a Kolkata temple. Anupama found out, and the fights grew vicious. She threatened to expose him, to take the kids, to ruin his life. Rajesh, cornered, knew he had reached his breaking point. On October 17, 2010, they had yet another fight, this time over money. The court ordered 20,000 rupees was not being paid consistently. Voices rose, tempers flared. Then, in a moment of rage, Rajesh shoved Anupama. She lost her balance and fell, her head hitting the corner of the bed. Blood poured from her scalp. But instead of helping her, Rajesh snapped. He pressed a pillow over her face, muffling her screams until she stopped breathing. The next part of his confession was even more terrifying. The children were not home that day. Rajesh locked Anupama's body in a bathroom. The next morning, pretending everything was normal, he bought a deep freezer, a stone cutter, an electric saw, and dozens of black plastic bags. While the children were at school, he locked the house, shut all the curtains, and got to work. He chopped his wife's body into 72 pieces. He packed the pieces into bags, placed them in the freezer, and cleaned the scene. Over the next few days, he continued life as usual. He emailed Anupama's friends and family from her accounts to maintain the illusion that she was alive. He told the kids that their mother had gone to visit their grandmother in Delhi. He was cold, calculated, convincing. Every now and then, Rajesh would take a bag or two from the freezer and dispose of it in the nearby forests of Mussoorie Road. He thought he had created the perfect cover, that no one would suspect anything. And for almost 2 months, no one did. He continued to fool everyone, until Anupama's brother decided to knock on that door. After Rajesh's confession, police recovered multiple black bags from the locations he mentioned. Each one contained parts of Anupama's dismembered body. The case made national headlines. The media was shocked. Social media erupted in disbelief. How could a husband, a father, turn into a butcher inside his own home? As the trial began, public anger boiled. Court proceedings were long and emotional. The twin children, now orphaned, were handed over to Anupama's family. Rajesh was unrepentant, cold, and at times disturbingly calm during hearings. It was clear he had planned not only the murder, but the cover-up too. Every step had been calculated. Yet one question haunted everyone. How could a man live under the same roof as his own children, eat meals, talk to neighbors, all while keeping their mother's remains just a few feet away in a freezer? But the horror wasn't over yet. In the final part of this story, we uncover the chilling trial, the shocking verdict, and the twisted aftermath that still leaves people asking, can evil wear a familiar face? What happens when the mask of a respectable man is ripped away in a courtroom? What does justice look like when the crime committed is so monstrous that no punishment seems enough? Rajesh Gulati's confession had already sent shockwaves through the nation, but the courtroom drama, the emotional testimonies, and the fate of two innocent children left behind in the wreckage would prove to be just as haunting. The world had seen what Rajesh did. Now they wanted to know why. The court proceedings began in early 2011. Rajesh was charged under Section 302 for murder and Section 201 for destruction of evidence. Have you ever looked at a happy couple and thought, they have it all? But what if, behind those smiles, lies a ticking time bomb, ready to explode at any moment? This is the story of Rajesh and Anupama Gulati, a love story that started with promise and ended in a horror so unimaginable it shook an entire nation. What seemed like a perfect marriage was slowly rotting from the inside, and when the final crack appeared, it wasn't just a relationship that was destroyed, it was a life. Rajesh Gulati was born in Dehradun, a bright and ambitious boy. He completed his early education there before moving to Delhi for higher studies. He earned his master's degree in computer science from Delhi University and became a well-paid software engineer. It was during his time in Delhi that he met Anupama, a confident and charming woman from the same city. Their connection was instant. What started as friendship quickly turned into romance, and before long, they were making promises for a future together. In 1999, Rajesh and Anupama got married in a grand ceremony. Everyone believed they were made for each other. Soon after, Rajesh landed a job in a major tech firm in the United States. He moved to America for work, and Anupama joined him a few months later. Life seemed like a dream, a new country, a high-paying job, and a beautiful home. But sometimes, dreams are just illusions wrapped in comfort. At first, everything was fine. Rajesh was earning in lakhs, they had a house in the U.S., and Anupama settled in as a homemaker. But slowly, loneliness began creeping in. Rajesh was busy with work, and Anupama spent most of her time alone. She began expressing a desire to work, but due to visa restrictions, she couldn't. This became the first crack in their seemingly perfect life. As months passed, tension started building. Anupama grew frustrated, and Rajesh, instead of understanding, grew distant. They fought. Small disagreements turned into cold wars. Eventually, they decided to try and mend things. In 2005, in hopes of fixing their marriage, they planned to start a family. And in 2006, Anupama gave birth to beautiful twins, a boy and a girl. For a while, their home echoed with laughter, and peace returned. But happiness doesn't always last. In 2007, the global recession hit, and Rajesh lost his job. With their savings depleting, they were forced to sell their home and return to India. They moved into Rajesh's parents' home in Dehradun before settling into a rented apartment in Govingar. Rajesh soon found a job in Kolkata. leaving Anupama and the kids behind in Dehradun. This long-distance arrangement strained their bond even further. While Rajesh worked in Kolkata, Anupama took care of the children. The emotional distance turned into mistrust. Fights resumed, more bitter than before. Things became so bad that they approached family court. After a long legal battle, the court ordered Rajesh to send 20,000 rupees monthly for Anupama and the kids' expenses. But the anger, resentment, and silence between them kept growing. By 2010, Rajesh was visiting Dehradun less frequently. Despite being apart, Anupama and Rajesh kept in touch through calls and emails. But by October and November, something strange began happening. Anupama stopped calling her parents, her friends, even her brother. Her personal phone was switched off, and she only replied occasionally through email, which also soon stopped. Anupama's family grew worried. Her brother, Sujan Kumar Pradhan, traveled to Dehradun to check on her. But when he reached Rajesh's home on December 12, 2010, Rajesh refused to let him in. He claimed Anupama had gone out and shut the door in his face. Sujan tried to force his way in, but Rajesh remained hostile. Disturbed and suspicious, Sujan went straight to the police. Police arrived at Rajesh's home that same evening. What they discovered would haunt the entire nation for years. But before we dive into what the police found inside that house, ask yourself this. Can you really know someone, even if you've lived with them for years? What would you do if the one person you trusted the most turned out to be your worst nightmare? When police entered Rajesh Gulati's home in Dehradun, they expected a missing person case. But what they uncovered behind those closed doors was a horror that no one, not even trained officers, were prepared for. Inside the house was a secret so dark, so twisted, that even the strongest hearts trembled. As officers began scanning the rooms, something immediately felt off. One particular room was locked, odd for a house of just 4 people. When they forced the door open, they were met with an eerie silence and a chilling sight. A commercial-grade freezer, far too large for a household. Suspicion turned into horror when they opened it. Inside were several black plastic bags, each one neatly packed, frozen solid, and dripping with a red liquid. The stench was unmistakable. Prosecutors presented every horrific detail: the timeline of the murder, the items purchased, the freezer with human remains, and digital evidence from Anupama's email accounts, which Rajesh had used to impersonate her for weeks. Each photograph, each message, each piece of forensic proof painted the same picture: a husband who had turned into a cold-blooded killer. But what truly shattered the courtroom were the testimonies, especially from Anupama's family. Her brother Sujan recounted the day he was turned away at the door, the moment he saw her disfigured face in that freezer, and the way his world collapsed. Judges listened with heavy hearts. Lawyers, journalists, even seasoned officers were seen wiping away tears. This wasn't just a crime. It was a calculated execution of trust, love, and humanity. Rajesh, throughout the trial, showed no remorse. He sat with a blank expression, occasionally attempting to justify his actions. He insisted he acted in rage, in frustration, but the court refused to buy it. The extent of the planning, the tools, the methodical dismembering, the disposal strategy, all proved that this wasn't an accident. It was premeditated murder. The prosecution argued that Rajesh could have walked away, filed for divorce, sought help. Instead, he chose death. Brutal, barbaric death. In the background of this high-profile case were the children, the twins. orphaned by the very hands of their father, too young to understand why their mother never returned, and too innocent to grasp the weight of the nightmare they had unknowingly lived through. In March 2011, the court officially handed over their custody to Sujan Kumar Pradhan, Anupama's brother. The children began a new life under the care of their maternal family. Far from the memories of blood and betrayal, Rajesh's parents, especially his father Satyapal Gulati, filed appeals to gain custody of the children. They believed the children should be with their paternal grandparents. But on November 3, 2012, the court rejected the plea. The damage Rajesh had caused was irreversible, and the court ruled in favor of keeping the children away from any potential influence from that side of the family. Meanwhile, Rajesh's trial dragged on, but finally, on September 1, 2017, 7 long years after the crime, the verdict came. Rajesh Gulati was sentenced to life imprisonment under Section 302 for the murder of his wife, and under Section 201 for destroying evidence. Additionally, the court imposed a fine of 15 lakh rupees. 7 लाख रुपए सरकार के खजाने में जमा करने होते थे, जबकि शेष 8 लाख बच्चों के लिए स्थिर जमा में बचाए जाने होते थे, जो उन्हें केवल 18 वर्ष की आयु पूरी करने के बाद ही प्राप्त हो सकते थे। लोगों ने जश्न मनाया। Justice, though delayed, was delivered. But for many, the punishment still didn't feel enough. Anupama's life was reduced to frozen pieces in a fridge. Her children were left motherless, and the man responsible, once her lover, her husband, would still get to breathe, eat, sleep, and exist. It was justice, yes, but justice wrapped in pain. In 2018, Rajesh appealed against his life sentence and the fine in the higher court. The appeal remains pending. However, in July 2022, he was temporarily released on a 45-day medical bail by the Dehradun High Court. He underwent surgery and was granted extensions, first 10 days, then another 21 days. Each time he stepped out, even for medical reasons, people trembled. How can a man who chopped his wife into 72 pieces still be allowed fresh air? The final irony is that even after all this, after years in prison, after media trials and public outrage, Rajesh never truly showed regret. Not in the way that mattered. Not in a way that could ease the pain of those who lost Anupama. He maintained that he had simply snapped. But can rage ever justify what he did? Can momentary anger ever explain the cruelty of sawing a human body into pieces, hiding it in a freezer, and living like nothing happened? Today, Anupama's memory lives on in the hearts of her family and in the lives of her children. They grow older with questions about a mother they lost and a father they never truly knew. They will one day read the court files, watch the news reports, and come to understand the full horror of what was done in their name, in the house they once called home. But here's the question we leave you with. What turns love into murder? Is it betrayal, mental illness, or a darkness that has no name, just a face that smiles in daylight and kills in the dark? Let us know in the comments. Was it justice? Was it enough? Or are some crimes so horrifying they can never be forgiven?